As we always do right about this time, we like to have my man J period T period is silent always come with what we know and love as suck shit.
So I was thinking,
Uh-oh.
because we up in the summer, and it hit me last night because the Ghost of Lebo, he going on vacation. We was all talking about different vacation plans we had. So I was thinking, like, what if like relationships or people were vacation packages? Okay. So I was thinking like one would be what I call the salt and sand niggas. Okay. So the salt is that person that's around you all the time, or the person you with that no matter what you say, they throw salt in the game, right? They always got something negative. That your homegirl ladies, that when you meet a guy and you like him, and she goes, well, you remember what happened last time, girl, be careful, right? Because she ain't got nobody. And then you got the sand ones, okay? And that's like the brother that throws out the sand and does a little soft shoe and tap dances for all the women. He's the dude that's at happy hour with 5 women, right? And he's the guy there, and you know he not smashing nobody.
Just buying drinks.
Right? But he's the guy that when you talk to your lady, she always refers to him. Well, not all guys think like that. I was talking to Greg, and Greg said, so he's the moisturized cosign on everything, right? Okay, so the other one I was thinking about was I call them first class coaches. Okay, so these are the people, you about to get on the plane, you got a ticket in first class, right? And they tell you, okay, when you get up there, they're gonna have some warm towels. Okay, that's to wipe your hands. Mm-hmm. Make sure you don't get too loud for the white folks. You don't want to show out this, and that. And you be like, oh, you hopping on the plane with me? No, I got a flight on Spirit 3 hours from now. I'm going from LA to Oakland. It's gonna take me 8 hours. It's only 13 stops.
Might as well take the bus.
And then the last one is what I call the all-inclusive, okay?
Okay.
Now, see, that's the guy that the women say they want, right? He's got it all. But here's the thing about those all-inclusive vacations. They dope because when you get there, you ain't got to worry about nothing. But you got to pay that price up front.
It's a pretty penny.
In most places, you got to pay it 30, 60 days in advance. You just can't stroll up to the counter and drop your money down at all-inclusive. They got to know you paid the fee up front. So that's my message to the women that go, I can be cooperative if he does this, and this. No, this is all-inclusive. You got to pay that fee up front. Oh, the brother, I'm going to get my stuff together, man. If all this falls into place. No, my brother, you got to pay that fee up front. Vacation package niggas is on some sucker shit.
So it's not like, like saying nigga, like people mistake me for as I walk into 7-Eleven.
No, you're not going to be on no watch list, no colors associated.
Okay, just making sure.
Orange alert, little orange alert.
Because I got to know that, the hair has gotten straighter and thinner, and it's problematic. People keep coming up to me speaking jacked up languages.
Oh, my God. There it is.
Sucking shit.
That one for the books, Dio. That's one for the books.
Oh, my goodness.
I got one more.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's do it.
Wait a minute. Which?
Popeyes. I mean,
I was laughing. My ears are hurting.
Yeah. Already, right?
Oh,
already.
Hurting, dog. I was trying to hold that.
Already. Good shit.
Oh, man.
As we always do about this time, sucker shit.
So I was thinking.
Uh-oh.
So after we leave here, I promised my daughter that we're going to Chick-fil-A. And we got to go today because can't go tomorrow. Chick-fil-A closed on Sunday.
Closed on Sunday.
Right? See, no matter like what you do, you're not getting the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich on Sunday. They have an entire brand, they have a model and a way of doing business. It's the reason why they advertise for college football and not the NFL. Because the NFL is primarily played on Sunday, so it doesn't fit with the brand. LeBron James can try to get a Chick-fil-A sandwich. He ain't getting it on Sunday. You can get the In-N-Out truck, you get food trucks, you can get all you want. but you're not getting Chick-fil-A on Sunday. And so what am I trying to say? Well, they've been pretty successful because they set a standard. See, I hear all these people talking about what they are, like they Chick-fil-A, but Popeye's biscuits keep flying out their mouths. I hear these women say, oh, I'm educated, I'm smart, but you messing around with a whole boy from 87th Street, okay, that do a little in his life, but you go, well, I don't do it, but you spend the money. See, you talk Chick-fil-A, right? But that Popeye's biscuit keep flying out your mouth. Now, there's nothing wrong with Popeye's, but it's just not Chick-fil-A. See, you can get a Popeye's biscuit, the chicken sandwich every day. See, Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. So what I'm saying is, why don't we start setting some standards for ourselves? You know, some of y'all brothers, oh, I want to be high value. That's the new term. Or I want to do this. I want to do that. But you open 24/7. You not Chick-fil-A, brother. You 7-Eleven. You AM, PM. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but it's a different clientele at 3 in the morning at 7-Eleven. Chick-fil-A closed at 3 in the morning, my brother. So what you doing? You know, her name is Tatiana, and it's that for a reason. She belongs to the streets. What you doing? You know, she not a queen. Her name be Queenie. You know? So all I'm saying is, you can go get you Popeyes. You can go get you whatever, Crazy Bird, Nashville Hot. But Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday. So for all y'all people to think Chick-fil-A gonna open for you on Sunday, you on some sucker shit.
That big bite rolling around on that little mechanical thing at 7-Eleven. Been on there for 8 hours.
On the rotisserie.
On the rotisserie.
Oh man.
Yeah, man.
Hey, welcome once again to Skinny Black's Lounge. I am your host, Rob, aka Skinny Black. To my left,
Rennie, not a San Negro.
no, he's not. Okay, to his left,
JT, period is silent. Hi, Mom.
yes, and to his left, the ghost of Lebo.
My man.
Actually, he's on vacation.
Yeah, clear waters,
Yeah.
jet skis, suede thong.
Sweet thong. Oh shit.
He's chilling.
Yeast infection.
Can you get yeast infection from suede thong?
Yeah, I would assume so. I would hope so.
Okay.
If you get this joke.
You would deserve one if you had it on.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. So that's why I was curious. Stay curious. So listen. We're in the middle of a series of laying down our origin stories in the SBL universe, and that's the SBLU, just like the MCU, but different. And let's get into it, man. What are the experience that made us the men that we are today? Experiences with women that shaped our thoughts about women, experiences with man and men that shaped our thoughts about manhood. So who would like to go? It's Rennie, not the sand.
Yeah, from a planet called Brooklyn.
There it is.
You know, via Georgetown, Guyana.
Yeah, spread love. It's the Brooklyn way.
Hey. And my pops didn't have no green card. Full on illegal immigrancy here during that influx post civil rights. You know.
There it is.
But
There it is.
both grandparents on both sides were from Guyana. As a matter of fact, my grandmothers had some familiarity with each other back in the old country. So as you look at it, you're shaped by that Caribbean ethic that comes in and trying to establish yourself here, coming from the third world country and the extreme poverty that existed in these places, specifically in the fact that it's not a tourist state, not like Jamaica or one of the other islands where you have this commerce there and this industry. So when you coming from here, from Jamaica, from Guyana, you're coming from nil, you're coming from nothing. And so, my grandfather on the maternal side, who holistically probably the biggest influence on everything that I am as a human being, was came here as a young man after his mother left him in Guyana at the age of 5. And so this is important in the sense that what shaped him was because he spent his entire adolescence living with other people. And by virtue of that experience, it being so horrifying, he recognized that the vulnerability of children, and at the same time that he would never, ever treat someone else's child like that. And more so that any child that entered into his home was his child. And so that is how that's what shaped him. That's what shaped his existence. So as he started to have his own children, 11, and then I think at the time,
never met a condom he liked.
yeah,
Guyana, bust a nut.
yeah, his 11 children, him and his wife, and any other child that came into their household, their friends, his nieces, his nephews, any other child that came into his house was his child. Period.
Dope.
He was dad to all, regardless of the cost.
Probably because he couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Hey, he lost count. Whatever.
There was a point where he was going to shut it down after kid 5. He came to my grandmother and says, "Hey, man, it's rough out here, man. Got these 5 kids. It's the mid-40s.
Providing.
Yeah. You see, I'm out here,
man.
I'm out here trying to do this. I'm a chauffeur. You know what I mean? I'm a plumber's assistant. I'm doing all these things, and yo, we gotta figure something out." And he says, "Man, we gotta do something, man. We gotta, man, maybe abstain."
I got 13 job mine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he said, man, he said his piece, like, "Yo, man, this is too much." He turned his back, and over his ear, it was the iron.
What?
The old school ones that
old
you had to
school
put
heavy
on the
one?
oven.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I know that.
You know what I'm saying? Like the old curling iron, but the iron that you had to actually sit, like the Monopoly game joint.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Flew by his ear. So 6 kids later, he got the picture. You know what I'm saying? He had an understanding that wife wasn't going for that. She was like, "Hey man, if
factory's still open."
if you ain't getting it here, where you gonna go get it then, Playboy?" You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So via that, my pops fresh off the boat, meets my mother. Moms gets pregnant. As you do in those days with my older brother, you get married.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You get married.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. Not necessarily a nuptials made in the complete synergy of commonality of experiences together, and we decide we're going to take this journey. You do what you have a child, and you have a child on the way, man. You step up and you do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I came as the deuce, the second one, the one made in the full covenant of the nuptials, and from there it was a little bit of a deterioration of a relationship, to the point where by the time my next brother came around, that it was done, it was done. But during this period, I wasn't, I was around my pops and his brothers, in that fold, and always around a collective of men. And at the same time, you get my mother had 11 siblings, and so always around another collective of men, and in that tradition of Black families where, the village raise the child. And specifically, since my grandmother had always been a housewife, we were at the house with my grandmother, and which means we always came home to my grandfather. And from there, he shaped what the physicality of a relationship between a man and his son is. You know, at no point in time did he ever say, my grandsons. You know, he would walk in the door, and me and my brothers and several of my other cousins that were there, small, but me and my brothers were always there. And he would walk in the door, and he'd be, well, my sons. And that ownership, you know, that the way he just took us, you know what I mean? You could say ownership, you could say a lot of different things, but we were his, you know what I mean? We belonged to him. And by virtue of that, we always knew we belonged to someone. And then it was a physicality to it, you know? At no point in time did this man that I can recall in my life ever say, I love you, okay? But at no point in time did I ever not feel consumed in love in his presence, consumed in it. He was the embodiment of it. Everything that I do and every movement that I have, even with y'all, is based in love infused into me by him. The handshake, the grabbing of your neck, the hug. Every time I roll up on my nephews in their 20s, you know, without any hesitation or anything like that, they know there will be affection, physical affection. I don't have to say, come give uncle a kiss. They're going to come kiss their uncle. And by virtue of that, my uncles, all of them had it, the physicality in it. And like I said, no I love yous, no conversations, but all the movement was made in love, even them whooping our ass was steeped in love. And never, no point in time did I think that there was some element of cruelty or anything like that. It was gratuitous or anything like that. You know, everything was created under the auspices of love. And with this love, this love had conditions and expectations that came with it. And expectations are a good thing. Expectations aren't a bad thing. Even though as a youth, you kind of rail against expectations sometimes, but these expectations are a good thing. And so parents' relationship deteriorate. My mom decides she wants to take an opportunity into California. Her brother is already there doing his residency at King Hospital, the only place that, one of the few places in the entire country that Black doctors could do their residency. And she takes the opportunity here, and we move into that fold with him, who always, by virtue of, I think him encouraging my mother to come in her struggles, I think he felt the obligation to then step in, like your situation, and become a more hands-on part into our lives. Now, that also came with an element, because now I'm seeing this repetition of men who come forward and embody fatherhood in spaces where they are not of your direct seed, your direct line, but they've taken the responsibility of it. And so my grandparents eventually moved here, and now my grandfather's back in the fold. We were probably outside of that fold with my grandparents for a year, you know. And it was an interesting story within that, because my grandfather came, and it was the middle of winter, and came for the visit, and he was quiet. He was taking it all in. You can tell, as in hindsight, I know he was taking it all in. He got off the plane, and he took the winter coat off. He had it in his hand, and he was just probably about 60 degrees in December, Christmas, you know. comes in the house, and it's about 3 a.m. New York time, and he makes a call to my grandmother and tells her, pack your shit, we move in. And that was it. Man never lived through another winter in his life.
He's like, I ain't doing that no more.
Yeah,
He's
that's
like,
some
wait a minute,
bullshit.
60 in December.
Exactly.
This is nice.
Reminds me of home.
Yeah. That's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said. Reminded him of home. You know what I mean? Put him in a place that he hadn't been in, at that point, almost 50 years.
Wow.
Put him in a place he hadn't been in almost 50 years. And it connected with his spirit. And that created the exodus out of New York from the rest of the relatives, and they all eventually.
Glad y'all escaped, man.
Yeah.
Escape from New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's no coincidence that this is crack 80s. You know what I mean? This is crack 80s. So what was West Indian, Brooklyn and, which
going
was
down.
was devolving into something
Yeah.
completely different. And, here with my mom and my brothers and my sister and doing things that young men do, sometimes without supervision and getting into things and whatnot. But there's always, my grandfather's always sliding in there with a hand. And my uncles always sliding in there and hand and letting them know that they ain't too far away from things until it got to a point where, my pops, my uncle decided, nah, man, I'm over this. And really didn't give me much of a choice and was just like, you're going to stay right here. And it wasn't tender. You know what I mean? It wasn't a conversation.
You mean he didn't ask you?
No, man, it wasn't no ask.
Oh, okay.
There's no ask in it.
He didn't care how you felt about it?
No, man, he didn't care how I felt. He
So
didn't
you
even
mean
care
your-
how my mother felt
You
about
mean
it.
your feelings didn't matter?
Did not matter at all.
Oh my God, no violins played in the background.
He didn't even care how my mother felt about it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Sounds like some manhood
It's
to me.
He's
the
like-
thing to do.
yeah, this is the go. And this is what we're going to do. I know you guys, other brothers and things like that, but we're going to work all this out. But at some point, we need to right this ship in this very specific way. And so, by virtue of that, put me right back close to my grandfather again, because they lived right around the corner. And so now I'm back in that fold. And like I said, it's understanding that treating the child like, when they're in your space, like they're your own.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no half-ass in that. You know what I mean? There's like, there's no, these are my sons and this is my nephew, or these are my sons and these are my grandsons and these are my neighbor's sons. No, man, it's just your home.
It's just family.
They belong to you.
Exactly.
And so by virtue of that, we went out into the world and we embodied that same thing. Hey, if this is family, then this is how family operates. And from there, the structure existed where all those expectations kicked in. So I went from being at my mom's and my mom working in nights and going to nursing school and things like that, moving around with a whole lot of freedom, to, yeah, so check this out. It's Monday. And Monday, we don't do TV. We're Tuesday. We're Wednesday. We're Thursday. But you can read something, And so I was like, all right, read something. So he was like, hey, what'd you read today? Oh, I was looking. Jimmy, he's looking for something. Got 2 newspapers. You didn't read a newspaper? Oh, I'll tell you what. Okay, well, you need to figure out something in there. I want to hear about something. Next day, what'd you read? Woke me up. Got in late, woke me up. What'd you read? The Metro section.
All bad.
Yeah.
Like me.
So I tell you what. Since you seem to have an issue verbalizing it, I'm gonna need you to write this out.
Exactly.
Let me write you out. You've done current events. I'm gonna need 3. Boom. So now here I am with the who, what, where, when, and the why. You know, he's like, oh, okay, knock those out. Yeah, it's a simplistic form, bro. You know what I mean? Okay, well, here you go. Here's a book. We're gonna read this. Science fiction book. Man, I ain't into no science fiction. Yeah, man, you had a choice what to read. You forfeited that when you didn't.
You punted.
Yeah, you gave yourself homework too.
Yeah.
Book reports, current event.
And this is in addition to your regular schoolwork. So figure it out, man. So I go through it. I read the book, and then I figure out, man, I'm not interested in this, so I need to figure out things that I'm interested in. Right? So then I'm saying, well, I'm interested in these things. Derek brought something by called The African Origin of Judeo-Christianity. There's a videotape, and he told me that the dude on there has a book. And his name is Dr. Ben. And so he's like, all right. 2 days later, I got Dr. Ben. So I'm reading about Dr. Ben. And I'm reading about African origin and Judeo-Christianity. And then I got Stolen Legacy. And I'm reading about that. And I'm 14 and I'm going through these things. And then, I mean, I got nothing but time. So now I'm in every section of the newspaper. And then I realized, man, the Daily Breeze is BS. It's evening newspaper, man. You know what I mean? I need to mess with this LA Times stuff in this international section and things like that. So now I'm devouring the newspaper section by section. And I'm like, man, the Metro is just stories about murders and things like that. And there's no development. And I know, you know, and it always seems to be about black people killing big black people. Yeah, I don't want to read that, man. So now I'm reading about politics and Israel and things like that. And then I find myself in these spaces where I'm talking to teachers and I'm questioning things and they're really not feeling the line of questioning.
Hell no, they not.
That's coming into play.
Because
So
they didn't read the paper.
right. So I'm thinking like, you know, why are you afraid of questions? You know, when I go home, I get asked a million questions. You know, as a matter of fact, man, he's most enthused when I have the level of questions.
Yes.
Now our conversation goes from being a fully directive conversation to be an interactive, interrogative conversations where now he's asking me questions and fleshing things out. And then I'm posing the same questions to my grandfather and realizing, man, this cat with the barely elementary school education is really, really well read.
Autodidact.
And I'm like, I mean, now I'm starting to understand, like, perspective-wise, like, why he's able to move and interact the way he does. He's a handyman. And then I start to learn about, you know, wait, when he was working at Variety back in New York as a child, I always thought he was the engineer, but they had him as the custodian. So he was fixing the printing presses and everything there and keeping the Daily Variety entertainment newspaper up and running. But he was getting paid like the janitor because they didn't pay black men as engineers. And so now I'm looking at, man, how did he move in all these spaces? And then I'm looking at when he first came to this, where did he learn to fix all these things? How did he become the handyman? Well, he worked on an estate as a chauffeur. And what do those estates have? They have plumbers. They have electricians. They have contractors. They have a brick mason. And so what he did is he cherry picked every single one of these guys and got a skill set. And so all his little side gigs that he was doing when he was working for Daily Variety of this handyman sort, those are all things that he had coupled together while he was in service of these people on this estate. And so that was all these little things that he used to do to support his family. And then in retirement, which he couldn't fully retire because custodians didn't get pension, but the guy he was working for kept him on the payroll until Variety sold, and they figured out, like, man, who is this dude getting paid? Why are we still paying this dude? And they cut that off, and his retirement was gone. So he had to go back to work as the handyman, you know. But he enjoyed the work. And so now I'm in the space with this man working, you know, he takes his sons. Just like when we were younger and he would take us to do the handyman stuff. Now I'm an adult, now I can help him. I'm 15, 16 years old. Now we're in the spaces and now, you know, I'm looking at him interact with people and how he speaks to them and his charm and how they always want him to come back and do things for him and how the thoroughness by which he goes about it. And just his extreme intelligence. And then I learned what deportment was and what elocution was and how to utilize in the spaces to your advantage and how you could disarm people and then bring them back in and welcome them into your space. And so I'm just watching him move. And then, I mean, how can I be that charming? You know, how can I be that likable? You know, and you look at that, at his evolution from that space, but I don't get it if I'm not there to witness it, if I don't see it, you know, firsthand. You know, this 5 foot, you know, 66-inch man walk into a room full of giants and be taller than everyone in it, and just watch people gravitate toward him, and nothing manufactured, but just being genuine, you know. And you know, I learned that I'm looking at his son, my pops, like, you know, who's an internal medicine practice and things like that. And I'm like, man, this dude has all these advanced degrees and things like that, and he's fucking brilliant. But this dude is genius. This dude is genius, and I'm trying to find the things that create the genius. Like what look at the confluence of circumstances that created this genius. You know what I mean? The mom leaving in Guyana when he was 5, and then they're sending money back to Guyana for each child every couple years. And since he's the youngest, he's going to be the last one to go. And he would only see his mother every couple years when she would come back. And, you know, the angst of a young boy wanting to see his mother because his father had died, see his mother and looking forward to it. And then one day comes back and she's dead. You know, they come back and bring her back to bury her. You know what I mean? But then his brothers and sisters are there to bring forth and finally get him to this country. So you look at what that shaped in him, the reverence to his mother for the sacrifices that she made in order to get her children into this country. And then him seeing his wife while he was still in Guyana and then saying, I'm gonna marry that woman. And then when he catches her here, that's what he does. Finds out she's here and he marries her. And they create that union. Those 11 children, those 60-something grandchildren.
It's called Me Too now.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
That's straight hashtag.
100%. And you know, and her ability to be at home and raise 11 children and then raise all of those grandchildren coming there too there also. And that net created by his work, and then by virtue of that support they got when they were older from my pops, stepping in there and taking care of that household when he was like 40, you know? Wow. So he's got his children he birthed. He's got me and a couple others, not to mention the kids that we brought into the house with us that didn't have nowhere to go, that stayed there. And then he's got his parents' household that he's taking care of. And my grandmother steadily bringing in more babies.
Y'all niggas live a Motel 6?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's what he was saying. But he's out there and he's breaking bread.
We'll leave the light on.
Exactly. And he's breaking bread. He's taking care of the space.
Bunk couches.
So when it came time to like, when I had to do something in my, you know, I'm in college, you know, we out here getting at these frauds. And, you know what I mean? At this cabin dance at USC in Annenberg. I just met a bad one. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And I'm coming in at 3 a.m, but I got to go work at Rouse at 6 a.m. And this cat is wondering why I ain't up on time to go ahead and handle that business, because I sure get up and I handle business. You know what I mean? You had a place to come home to, Playboy. You know what I mean? So I don't see why you can't get up on time and shuffle yourself up the street and bag them groceries and take care of that for that money that I don't get to see, as he would tell me all the time. That's your money. That ain't mine. You know? Yeah. So all these things create this air of responsibility and certain things that shape you, you know. And I've told you all about the one particular incident where one of them late night parties, and I'm slipping out, I realize this cat is awake, and I'm trying to slip out and get to work, you know what I mean? And, you know.
Trash cans.
Yeah, man, trash cans. You know, trash cans are full. And he was like, hey, man, why the trash cans full, man? It was trash day yesterday. And I was like, oh, man, you know, my young brother didn't pull him to the curb. And he was like, man, that's not what I asked you, man. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, well, they didn't take him to the curb. And he was like, well, that's your responsibility to make sure you take him to the curb. I was like, man, I woke him up. What you mean you woke him up? He's like, hey, man, what do you do? And I was like, huh? So what do you do? What do you do? Why are you here? I said, well, I'm about to go to work. He's like, no, man, that's not what I asked you, man. Yeah. What do you do for me? And I was like, well, you know, I'm in college. You know, my grades at the time were good. You know. He's like, no, man, you do that for you, man. I got a college degree. I got several. That's for you. I said, I work and I go to school. He's like, no, man, that's your money. I don't see it. What do you do for me? And I didn't know how to answer any of that.
Because you wasn't doing shit. like all of us.
Yeah. I was confused.
Answer. I ain't doing shit for
I was
you.
confused, just thoroughly confused. And I could see the frustration growing in his face as he's maneuvering the trash. And there's some other extemporaneous stuff that I had in there, man. My buddies had some beer, and they put the beer back in the box, and they had put it on the side of the trash can. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking it was neat. So he says to me, he says, hey, man, you know what? He said, hey, man, and I could see it. He says, man, you know, I don't like you. And I was like, wow. Huh? He said, I don't like you, man. I love you, but I don't like you, man. You don't do likable things. And he was like, yo, man, if you can't get these dudes to handle business, then what are you here for? What are you offering? What are you providing for in this space, man? I don't need another burden. And he was like, man, go to work. Go to your job. Go get your money and pay that little funky phone bill that you pay for and buy the new sneakers. Go. Man, get out my face, man.
Damn.
Come on. Soul crushing.
Oh, man.
So I walk to work, and I'm there, and I'm confused, and I'm so caught up in the I don't like you portion of it. You know, takes me days to get out of the I don't like you portion of it. And then I realize you don't do likable things. And then I say to myself, well, if that's the case, man, if I'm going to just do whatever it is so I don't have to have that conversation anymore. Whatever it is. Come in at 2 a.m, the cat's supposed to clean the dishes. I'm washing. Somebody leaves something in the dryer. I'm pulling it out. I'm going to fold it. I'm going to put it away. You know, holiday, all the holidays at our house. I'm going to get up before everybody else. I'm going to get the yard straight. I'm going to clean the stuff off in the backyard. I'm going to prepare for everything. I'm just going to work. And that's just what I did. But I was doing it to not hear it.
Right.
I wasn't doing it for righteous principles and things like that. I wasn't doing it to contribute to my part in the space. You know, those weren't the things that I was doing it for. I was doing it to get him off my back, you know, for all the wrong reasons. Right. Doing the right thing for all the wrong reasons. Until eventually I had an understanding of what it is. and what I was doing. And you know what took me to understand that? My first corporate job. And I was working 6 a.m. when I first started to like 7 at night. And then I realized,
God damn.
this cat, hotels, salary,
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
First corporate gig. And then I realized, hey man, this dude's been leaving the house at 6 a.m. and coming home at 8, 9 a.m. for 20 something years. I mean, PM, 8, 9 PM for 20 something years. I was like, I've only been doing this for 2 months. I feel like I'm gonna die. Straight up, I felt like I was gonna die. I was like, how you do this? I was like, I don't know how to handle this, you know? And just the perspective of being put in those positions and then getting that and having an understanding and all that obligation and looking at it. And so, you know, as I started to move out into the world as a man, I realized it's my obligation to father every single boy that I come across the same exact way, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of whether they want me to be it or not. I'm gonna create these expectations, and you're gonna choose to rise to these expectations, or you're not. But you won't be able to say that Rennie allowed you to slack, you know. So when he was coaching and I was coaching with him, you know, I was infusing the same love and the same expectations and the same energy that my grandfather infused into him and he infused into me, and collectively we put together, you know. And I remember one of my buddy Darren Early saying, man, I got all these daughters, man, I need to come out here and they need husbands. So if I don't get out here and try to make some husbands and make a difference with these young men, then what am I? And I was like, man, I've been doing that for years. He just get codified and put some nomenclature to what I've been doing and what that man plan that my grandfather and my pops created a long time ago.
He also had a plan for his daughters to have husbands.
Definitely.
This thing on? No, sorry.
Yeah. So that's my rant.
Couple things. First of all, thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh my God.
You used the word, because, you know, some of y'all gonna be confused because you used the word interrogative. And they gonna think that's a cutoff of the Don't Be Cruel Bobby Brown album.
Yeah, it's my interrogative.
Yeah.
Pre-rocket.
You know what I mean?
It's my
y'all
interrogative.
Google that. What I find interesting, a lot of the story, but when you were talking about the uncle with the degrees, and then grandfather, and your grandfather that could command a room, I think that sometimes with us, you got to get your education, and we fall in love with the degree. So many of our degrees don't mean anything, but we don't go on the spiritual. We don't go on the self-education journey, right? It's the books that you choose to read, not the assignments that you had to do.
Right.
That will make you. Those experiences. So when you saw your grandfather, you saw a whole life walk into a room, and wisdom and experience, and you can't go study that. You can't go, they don't teach that at USC or UCLA.
You gotta witness that.
You can't pay for that. That's a life lived, right? And that's also a testament to manhood, and you saw it in action. So I'm just, it's not really a question, but just, I felt that, that particular thing, it just touched my spirit.
And the interesting thing about him is how he owned blackness and not, he would say, hey man, if you ever sent me to war in Guyana, I could never go to arms against my origin, my country, He says, but understand that no matter how many times black people here ridicule my accent, I understand that I am still and singularly a black man, and that any time that judgment comes from them, it comes from a source outside of them, and they just may not be knowing it, and I can't blame them for their ignorance. But ultimately, when it comes down to the wire, we are one and the same. And so while I always held on to being Guyanese, the green, gold, and red flag and the whole nine, and me and my brother being immersed in that from a very young age makes us the most complete accent doing, because it's all we heard all damn day long. Rennie, hey boy, go clean that damn bathroom now, you know. All of those things. We always knew that we were inherently black men in this space where blackness, there's nothing, they don't want it. It's abhorred. And he knew that, and he understood that. So he never played that, you know, even though he had a country, you know, he said, I left.
For a reason, too.
You know? That's right there.
Yeah, he's telling you to clean that bathroom.
You know? At the same time, my paternal grandfather left for the exact same, and stayed for the exact same reason. When they got their independence, and my grandmother left with my pops and her sons, he says, nah, man, we fought for this, bro. I own this crib. We got the British out of here. I ain't going nowhere.
Two different perspectives.
Yeah, exactly.
That's dope too.
But he left in, you know, one left in 30s. One chose to stay in 1960 something and came here to visit. And it was like, hey man, just send some of these sons down here to see me, send my grandsons down. But we fought too much for this right here, you know.
Yeah.
And so I had to understand that in itself and the choices that were made within that also, you know. But it's all inherently African, and they never ever forgot anything about that.
Yo, something that the thing that jumped out to me is probably similar to what you had, Jay. It's just another slice of it is the reading part, man. You know, that's self-education. You know, uncle with the degrees, pops grandfather's smarter, right?
1000%.
Because he read.
Yeah.
Because he was well read, right? He took the time to take all of these experiences and life lessons that other people who have done this shit before. I don't have to recreate the wheel. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I can just read this shit and learn it. So I say that to say, I see that in you. I see that in you. And it just clicked to me, like, for me to you guys, that's my connection. Because I respect, and I've always said this, the dopest cats in the world that I've known in my life are well read. I don't give a fuck if it's comic books or the daily newspaper.
Yeah, I read the newspaper every day.
Every day.
I read the newspaper every day growing up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, side rant.
Hold up, before you hit that rant. It's me and my mom, right? Mm-hmm. She in her room, I'm in my room. And so for a good portion of the time, I had my own little black and white TV. She was like, read, nigga. You know what I'm saying? My mom used to read novels in like 2-3 days. She'd sit in her room and read, and that was her entertainment. And so I sit in my room and I read till the Jeffersons came on. Right. Till it's time for Carol Burnett. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
My mom read Harlequin romance novels.
Hey, that's my mom, man.
Yeah, my mom
read them shits in 2 or 3 days, and it'd be a stack to stacks. So I know it just clicked to me today. Thank you, brother. That's my connect to you guys. Go ahead on your rant.
No, all I was gonna say is one of the things that gets on my nerves is when people say, in my experience, how many billion people are walking the planet, and you gonna go on your trifling ass 27-year life. You ain't been out the city, but you go, well, in my experience, I've never seen nothing like that. Wait a minute, hold up. You wasn't sitting at a lunch counter in Selma, but you know it was a civil rights movement, right? Yes. But you didn't experience it. In my experience, as if you just like the most traveled. People kill me with that. That's an announcement of your limitation. Mm-hmm. That's all. Mini rant. I'm good.
All right. Hey, there it is. Rennie's origin story. Thank you, brother. Mm-hmm. Appreciate you.
A little long-winded. I apologize.
Nah, not long-winded. Now y'all know why he can spell.
Yeah, that's why you extemporaneous. Man, we gotta put that underneath. I like that. I like that. It is. All right. What we've been doing in this series, the SBL universe, is laying out the origin stories. And so, man, let's get this origin story from J period T period.
Word.
Word.
Okay, well, we'll start off by saying, first of all, we welcome you once. No, I'm just kidding. First of all, I'm like potato salad. Everybody can't make me. So
This is true.
you know, I am what I am. There is a lot, but you know, let's hone in on this. We'll do the Cliff Notes version. I'm Junior. I hold the same name as my father. Rest in peace. And him and my mother, they were married, grew up around the corner from each other. But they were separated and divorced when I was 8 months old. Right? He went to work. She put me on the hip, grabbed my sister, and was out. Right? And went to my grandparents. So I stayed with my grandparents. I'm from the east side. You know, we were talking off camera, Wildsworth Avenue Elementary School, you know. That's east. For those of you who are not in LA, that is USC, go east of USC.
East side is east of, east of Fig.
Yeah, the real east side.
Yeah.
Okay, not the one Snoop rapped about. That's Long Beach. That's the South Bay. Anyway.
And truth be told, that's the real South Central Los Angeles.
Exactly. Right. Formerly known as South Central.
East of Central Ave.
Yes.
So grew up with my grandparents, Rosetta and Melvin Jackson Sr. 8 children to them, 4 boys, 4 girls. Okay, quite the tribe.
Right down
tribe
the middle.
called Jackson. Grandfather is a postal worker, retired, and grandmother was a mother and Christian.
In that order.
All she did was raise kids and go to church. Okay, so I went to church 4 or 5 days a week. The church was literally, we on 36th Street. The church was around the corner, and I would cut through my godmother's backyard and go to church. I was in the regular choir, the men's choir, the youth choir. I was secretary and treasurer for the Sunday school, a junior deacon on the usher board, and went to go visit the sick and shut in. And on Saturdays, handed out food with my grandmother. So I was a church boy, through and through.
Leadership development, brother.
Oh, well, that's what, yeah, whatever. So, meanwhile, my grandfather watched Fred Price and football on Sundays.
Oh, yeah.
He was leaving out here. Evidence.
Yeah. The theme.
That's what I
gotta tell you my grandfather's church story.
Why can't I hang out with grandfather? If you gonna go to hell if you. Well, I want to go to hell, grandma. Got my ass whipped for that.
Smack shit
Yeah, I got my ass whipped for that. Anyway, grew up with them. My mother worked multiple jobs. So I actually didn't live with my mother until I was a teenager. So I didn't live with my mother till I was in junior high school, what the youngsters call middle school now. Okay. But my sister, my mother only lived together for 1 year. Because my sister is 4.5 years older than me. So when I hit middle school, my sister's a senior in high school, we lived together. Okay. I'm bused to the Wilshire district. She's bused to the Valley because we were deemed, smart black kids. So we got put into the Give a Nigga a Chance program.
The magnet.
Yeah, the magnet program. Well, you call Give a Nigga a Chance program, right? Let him see trees. Put him on the bus and go let that little nigga see some trees and see how he turns out. So we spent a lot of time going to school around white kids. But my mother worked, she used to work for Carnation, different jobs, but she eventually got on at the post office like my grandfather. My mother worked, for real.
There's always work at the post office.
My grandfather knew every zip code in LA. You throw out a street address, be like 9007. Like, damn, it was good. sort mail for 40 years, you be good too.
yeah.
Exactly.
So, but you know, I have I often say to you guys and say to other people that in the Black community, we love Jesus and we love Mama, and Jesus is second, right? And I was no different. My mother still is, but was everything to me. You know, you want to start a fight amongst Black folks? Say something about somebody's
their
mama. You talk about their daddy like you got a tail. Say something about Mama, and it's on and cracking. And I was no different, right? So my mother's my hero. I would not ever disappoint her. I'll give you this example. I play sports growing up, and actually I come from a football family, but I played basketball. I did not know that my father was a basketball player till after he died. So that's where I got that. My father played at Jeff. When I was coming out of high school, I had a couple, college scholarships, small schools, Cal Poly Pomona, some Division II schools, Oberlin, Ohio. And I was going to go to Cal Poly Pomona. My sister was at USC at the time. And my mom was like, you have to apply because it's been my dream for you to go to USC. My uncle and aunt had already graduated from there, right? So to satisfy my mother, and I didn't think I was going to get in, I applied. The only college I applied to was USC. I ain't need to apply to no college. I'm going to go play basketball.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? We got that damn acceptance letter. And my mom did a Holy Ghost dance in the kitchen. He's all right. He's all right. She's all right. Right? And I'm just me like, shit. So anyway, freshman at USC, basketball career over.
There goes basketball.
That's how much influence my mother had over my life. So, you know, huge family, lots of uncles, lots of aunts, lots of everything, lots of influences, men everywhere. But the number one driving force, guiding force in my life was my mother. Graduate from college, I give her my degree. Okay, I got another copy, but I gave her a degree. My sister gave her one too.
Yeah.
Right. My mother dropped out. She was at LA City College, freshman getting the AA, when she found herself pregnant. Okay.
She found herself?
Yeah, found herself pregnant. It wasn't immaculate. My daddy ain't named Joseph. So, so found herself pregnant. It's funny, my grandma, my father's was still alive. My mother's mother, she's passed. She passed when I was in junior high school. She had a stroke in the bathroom and died. But my grandmother was telling me that she was talking to my grandmother, and she said, I don't know how that happened. My grandma was like, I know how that happened. She's like, I know exactly how it happened. So, oh shit. So she left school and, you know, became a wife, but she was a stickler for education. She would correct my grammar all the time. I remember elementary school, I got all A's and then I got a D in handwriting, penmanship, because that used to be a thing. They graded you on everything. Man, the report card would be this long.
Yep.
You know?
2 pages.
Yeah, they like,
my handwriting
get
was
a grade on breathing.
Yeah.
Got a D. She made me sit and write every day in the summer.
Wow.
So I'm actually left-handed, and when I really sit down and write, I have really nice handwriting. And people are like, well, how? Well, if you was in Shawshank like I was, writing all day, okay?
JT Dufresne.
Yeah, you know, had a plume, had a feather. Third grade with a feather coming out of pen raise. You know, him. So, you know, she was tough. And similar to what you said, my mother does not say I love you. She says a little bit now, but I can only recall about 5 times. But I never worried about that.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I did learn was that you don't have to say something when you are it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Michael Jordan never said I'm the greatest basketball player. Everybody else said it for him. I never heard Elon Musk talk about his brilliance. He's too busy being brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
So she was being loving with all the sacrifices and the things she made, things she did for us. So, you know, divorced, single mom, blah, 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 that story. But get 2 kids to graduate from USC. Not bad, right?
Yeah, not bad haul at all.
Yeah. Man, I woke up graduation day. Hi. As I don't know. Running across campus in a cap and gown. Oh, hilarious. So as I move through my young adult life, as much admiration that I had for my mom, it began to present issues, right? Because like so many other young men, that's my first love. But there's a dynamic that happens with a lot of us where we become our mother's men instead of their sons. And ultimately, I'm supposed to be somebody's husband or somebody's man and not yours. So my mom really didn't take too kindly to any woman I was serious about.
Wow.
She actually preferred me being a whore. Just go have fun with them, baby. Don't get serious, right? And it wasn't until I decided to get married that it came to a head, and I had to confront my mother in defense of what is now my ex-wife, but back then was my future wife. And it was the first time that we had it out. And I was like, no, you raised me to be this way. This is the woman I choose to marry. She's family. She's first, right? That was a defining moment and a step in my manhood. And I call it confronting Jesus, because that was the God of my life. It was tough in the moment, but what happened since then was I began to be able to see her as a woman, not as a deity, that she's not perfect. She's human. I could see the good in her and the bad in her. I actually got more respect for her that she did all the things she did being human.
Right.
Recognizing her struggles. And it also gave me the frame to say, okay, what in her has influenced me to the positive and what to the negative? And now I can really do an analysis of me and do some growth and self-work. It also allowed me to examine women that I deal with, because once you confront Jesus, surely ain't nothing. Right? I've already confronted the love of my life. So now me and you having a conversation and me just telling you straight up, that's not a problem. But it took that moment and the moments after and really digging into it, and it's changed me forever. That's my girl. I love her to death, but she's human, just like I am, you know? So when she do like her little petty stuff now, I'll be like, oh, okay, I see you a little jealous. You are a woman. Okay, I see what you're doing right there. You know, like one day she was like, yeah, it's all about me.
Yeah.
I was like, look at your little selfish ass, you know? But it's cool. She grandma. She do what she want.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, growing up, we look at mom as like
superhuman,
right?
You know what I mean?
And moms are special, but they're still people.
Yeah.
And you can't have a full growth and evaluation of yourself unless you can really break down where you come from, your influences, who these people are.
Yeah.
And why you are the way you are.
We are able to say things about men and fathers. I was able to say anything I want about my dad. Not around her. She wasn't allowed, but anybody else, I could say whatever. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know the man like that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Right. It wasn't until after he passed that I learned all kinds of stuff. And in unlocking that, I learned more about myself. Like that basketball story I said. You know, why the hell does everybody in my family playing football and I love basketball? right?
Yeah.
I got it honest, just didn't know.
Yeah.
I love to cook. My father was a chef in the Navy.
Yeah.
A cook in the Navy. Ain't no chefs in the Navy, but a cook in the Navy.
Yeah.
And my grandmother told me stories when he would come home and cook for her. So when I reconnected my grandmother, I threw a barbecue for her. And she was sitting on the couch so happy because I reminded her
Embodiment of
of
her
her
son.
right? I ain't connecting nothing. I don't know. I'm just learning all this,
Yeah.
right? Like my mom growing up, you act just like your daddy. Be like, that don't mean nothing to me, nigga. No, I don't know him.
Yeah.
You might as well tell me, mind you, the milkman. The dude just dropped off the mail or something, you know? Yeah, see? Connect it all. So, you know, I don't want to go too long, but I wanted to touch on that part of what we're calling the origin story series, in that it is not disrespectful. It is not evil. It is actually necessary to be able to confront the God or gods in your life, because they're people, they're not perfection. And it is our responsibility to grow so when what we hand to the next generation, they can be better. You know, I want my children, I want the kids I mentor, I want my nieces, nephews, cousins. I got 100 of them in LA. I want them all to be better than what I am. And how can I give them anything if I can't be honest, right? The way I do it is how I do it. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. But I'm always looking to get to the real, right? I'm the same MF every room I walk into. You want it or you don't want it, you know? So, I mean, that's how I get down, you know, and some people don't like the medicine I hand out, but it's okay. You know, Motussin.
It's like what I love about that is what you said. We create this deity that's our mother, and she's superhuman, and these set of expectations now we create for ourselves because we're trying to attain something that's actually unattainable, you know. And you've created something that once reality starts to set in and you start to see things for what they are, that she can't achieve.
Right.
And so once you, like you said, you allow your mother to humanism, then you allow yourself to become human now. Now you're not creating an expectation that there's no way that you can even attain, and then you stop being so self-critical that it is to your own detriment, and it's becomes self-deprecating. You know, now you can inhabit your own space and say, okay, man, this is where I've fallen short, and this is what I need to be working on. Have an honest assessment of yourself. But if you can't honestly assess, you know, your mother and the relationship that you have there, you know, and you know, for me,
That's hard for all of us.
yeah.
That's hard for all of us, but it's a necessary step. You can't call yourself a man and not have done the work.
Yeah.
That's part of the work. See, currently I drink vodka or tequila, and Jesus drinks wine, and we chill at her place and watch the Food Network. You know, and that's a dope place to be at.
Yeah.
You know, and just really can laugh, have a good time, and it's like, man, and I see her. Right. And the things that would bother me before, they don't bother me because I understand who she is.
That part.
You know, it's no pressure.
Yeah.
It's like, be yourself.
Yes.
It's all good.
Yeah.
You know, side story. I'm gonna say it. It wouldn't be me if I didn't say it. So I was messing with my mom one day, and we was going back and forth, and she was like, I just wanted you to be different than your daddy. And I was like, you married him, he knocked you up twice. I was like, daddy hit. She's like, shut your ass. Like, it's true. Yeah. I was like, the dude that was like
and
me
a 4.5
didn't get
years
there.
span.
I was like, yes. And I'm 5 years younger than my sister. I was like, so you went back. I was like, we not a year apart. You was kicking it.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, man, she was mad at me for that one.
Oh, yeah, because you confront her with her choices.
You know, hey, man. Look.
And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all, man. That's actually... That whole humanization, and more like, man, what you said was she lives in her in her own her freedom now, and you have an understanding of her. And the things that used to perplex you that she would do, the things that would drive you crazy, because it was a period there, my mom, and I just couldn't. I was just like, why? Well, she was superhuman, and so she was doing human stuff, and I was just, it was so confusing. Like, nah, man, this is not. You used to give. Look at how much grace you gave my father, when he wasn't even deserving of that grace, and you gave him that grace, and now you over here, you know what I mean, being petty about this over here. I don't understand.
It's human beings, man.
Why this? Why
not one thing all the time?
Yeah, and the understanding, and it just what it brings you back to, and like to me, when you listening to you articulate it, in our previous conversations, it was illuminating for me because, you helped me identify those emotions in me, like, oh man, you okay? So I wasn't crazy. I wasn't alone in that space, because I actually felt a little guilty about how it would make me feel, because I felt like I was in judgment of her, and she was only doing the best thing she could in given the circumstances, and she had some hard choices to make.
The reason why I say challenging Jesus is because if you grew up in the church, the one thing you can't do is ask questions.
Right.
Well, why? Well, this don't make no sense. Verse 3, right? And oh no, it's God's will. You can't ask questions, right? And it's the same thing, right? And then one day, you're like, no, I want to figure this out, right? And it changes your whole perspective on everything. That's why I call it that. That it was equal, like shared tracks in my life growing up in the church.
Yeah.
And then growing up, I had Jesus and I had Mom Jesus, right? And I had to learn to challenge both, right? Yeah. Now, so, one more thing. Fast forward to this part. So when I got divorced, it was really tough, okay? And people do this, they go through stuff and you look for somebody to blame. You look for this, you look for that. Because of my experience and looking internally and breaking this down, it helped me realize, first of all, I got down on my knee and I asked for this. So this was my choice, right? Didn't nobody hit me in the back of the head. I got down on one knee and put a ring in my hand like this, right? And it helped me with the ownership of my life.
There you go.
Right? So for all y'all people that's parents, and you separated and you talking bad about the other person, that's the person you chose. Mm-hmm. They're a reflection of you in some way, shape, or form. So you're really talking bad about yourself and you're damaging future generations.
Well, it's interesting because I had two questions, and my first question was that I wrote it down when you said it, that your mom didn't say bad things about your dad.
No, she would just say he was a really good provider. That was her line. He was. We had a house. I mean, I was 8 months old, but this was, we had a house. She was like, we had everything we needed. Didn't want for nothing,
She just wrecked her own home.
No. Papa was a Rolling Stone now. Don't trip. Temptation. We still sing that to my mom. On Christmas, me and my sister do a rendition. Don't. Waka, waka, waka.
It's interesting you say that. What you didn't say is the other dude's name, Jamestown Jr.
No, not Junior. We got more than I'm Junior. We got more. There's more of us. My daddy liked his name, man.
And the second question is about, you brought it up, and we had talked about diving into it, but let's dive into it now. You brought it up. How does the act of divorcing from mom God have an impact on relationships with women?
Well, first of all, I think that God is within you. So if you're handing that out outside of you, you don't realize your own power and strength.
Right.
So until you do that divorce, you can't truly manifest what's inside of you, because you're still technically a child. so you don't reach your maturity in adulthood without that divorce. Okay. Now, in terms of relationships, it's been an ongoing process because you go through that, and it's first you have to analyze the influences that you've got from that person, right? We are highly educated parrots, all right? So there's a lot of birds out here. We just have been repeating what's been told to us over and over and over again, and have not analyzed any of it, right? Okay? So old school says this, grandma said this, mom said this, they taught you this, and now you say it, okay? Some people haven't looked back at their family history and went, wait a minute, all these niggas was losing.
And handing out all this information.
And handed me this information, and they gave me
like
the
it was the
loser's
gospel.
playbook.
Like it was the gospel.
You said the loser's playbook.
They gave you the loser's playbook, and here you are repeating it.
Right.
Right?
As a matter of
Because you
fact.
can't do the autopsy on it because you can't question. Right? So for all of the beautiful things that she had her issues as well. And so much information or rules that people give you are born out of their fear and their don't hurt me stuff that they haven't dealt with. Their unhealed trauma, as people like to say, and they hand it to you, and it's not even yours.
Yeah. Worst kind of legacy that you can hand on.
Right? I ain't worried about no man cheating on me, mama. I ain't gay. so
Not your cross to bear.
Not my cross to bear. You know, so you have to be able to analyze that. Now, as I have moved further and have been able to look at me, I realize, okay, for example, I like to save people, and it's good for my ego, right? Because I can go, I'm the man. See what I did, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what happens after the person is saved? Well, now the mission is done.
Yeah,
So
you got to go find a new person
now I
to
gotta
save.
go find a new person to save.
Right.
So from the jump, this relationship is not going to be set up for the long haul. This just serves my ego.
Wow.
So in that way, I'm a user. But, you have to be able to be honest with yourself and break that down.
And by the same token, look at all the skill set that you learned. You know what I mean? And you and I have talked about this, but all the domesticated things that you could do.
Oh man, come on. Let's go.
So and you go through all of it. And then by virtue of that, tell me, based on all those things that you can do, right? That you don't need anyone else to do for you, the kind of companion you find yourself with.
Okay, so here's crazy. So my mother, one of her philosophies was, I'm gonna teach you everything to do in the house, because it was her thought that the next generation of women, she was like, they're lazy and they think because they go to school that they don't have to do nothing else.
Wow.
Like my sister, she has a degree and she ran her own business, and now she's a high level, in her field, occupational therapy. But you want her place looks like the Macy's bed and bath store. How beautiful and laid out, and that's how my mother is, right? So, you come to my place, it's gonna be clean, it's gonna be laid. I've never been with a woman that could cook better than me. I don't want you to wash my clothes. I fold my own clothes because I fold them a certain way. My closet, everything's lined up. You could blindfold me and I could pick out a matching outfit.
Same here.
Right? So
Same here.
when you strip away that stuff from some people, they don't really know what to do with you. Because now we got to talk. Because it's not about, I'm just going to come over because you could cook.
Right.
Or I'm going to do this and I appreciate the help.
Yeah.
But now oh no, who are you?
Right.
What's going on?
Yeah, living service.
What's your real philosophies on life?
real character?
Because I've done the autopsy on my family, now when I'm around you, I'm watching your people because I want to know where you come from.
Bingo.
Because one thing I learned about being married, it was a lot of people in that bed with us. Mamas, grandmamas, uncles. It was all, man, it was crowded in there some nights.
Yep.
Because it was some philosophies coming that didn't have nothing to do with us. But it was embedded in us from years and years and years. Well, my grandma said, I was like, they was in wagons. She went to school. She was like, yeah. Your grandma rode a stagecoach to school. What the hell you quoting? What are we doing right now? You know, I was like,
Pony Express.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, and you know, you've been married 8,000 years, so you guys have had to forge your own. Yeah, your philosophy is yours. If I tried to take yours, it wouldn't work for me.
Right.
Right. But what we think is, I'm gonna get a guy like my grandfather. Bread was a nickel.
Right.
There are no factory jobs.
Right.
We ain't going to the plant with my little bucket and coming home. And that, like my grandfather on a post office salary income, had a house, bought a house, raised 8 kids, raised grandkids, right? Sent people to school. You can't do it like that anymore.
Right.
The whole dynamic has changed.
Yep.
This whole thing is different. So you have to adjust everything to what's my grandmother didn't know how to drive. She never drove a car.
Neither did mine.
Wow.
All she did was raise kids and go to church. But that's what it was back then.
Wow.
Right?
Hey, well, listen. There's so much there. Couple things though. The first thing is that, you know, I the whole thing about chores, and it's interesting that your mom had that perspective, like, yo, they don't make them like they used to.
So this
you're
day,
gonna have to
tell you. We could
do
bring
your
her on
shit.
right now. She'll tell you.
And
She said about her nieces, my cousin, like, oh, them heifers lazy. They don't know how to do nothing.
The interesting thing for my mom, she was like, you need to learn this so you can take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't like that other shit wasn't even part of the equation. It's like, nigga, take care of yourself, right?
Well, it's like 4th of July, you know, it's a tradition. My family, we get together and the men barbecue and do everything. And one of my cousins was like, you know, she was like, it's good to see y'all. The men, she said, I tell you, the men in my family, they can cook, they can do this, they can do that. We don't have that. It wasn't until I got outside of the home where I saw this male woman battling.
Huh.
My family, the men and women don't fight like that. We on the team together.
Yeah.
Right. You know, we here to win.
Yes.
That's why when I you know, side thing, but when I see these women talk about, and I'm there, no, now I don't need, you don't need nobody.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine making it without the people to help me.
And even like in that whole self-sustained thing, because, you know, the single motherhood thing, and your mom embedding all these skills into you that you can do, and then by virtue of her, you trying to figure it out, it allowed you some level of exploration. You know what I mean? So like, you know, we could cook because we had to cook for each other, me and my brothers and sisters. So we learned to cook when we watched. I watched my grandmother cook. But I also saw when my grandmother was out of town, I saw my grandfather clearly capable of taking care of himself. So it wasn't an issue. My grandmother, she cooked well and all the time and fantastic food. But when we were with him and she was gone, he went in there and made us a meal that we liked. It wasn't anything. My uncles made fantastic breakfasts for us and things of such. And so like when it came to time when I'm sitting there getting ready for school in the morning, I'm in the 5th grade and my sister's in preschool, you know, well, let me help my mother out. She does her hair like this. Let me do her hair. And no one had to show me how to do my sister's hair. I'd been watching my aunts and my mother and my cousins, specifically my cousins that knew how to do hair well, and I watched them. And so, but what I also saw is that they weren't tender. You know what I mean? And so I was able to do my sister's hair because I was tender with her. And she didn't mind that it was a little frizzy or something like that.
Man, I messed up my daughter. I was rocking Afro puffs going to school. Okay.
But I mean, it's
Sorry, baby.
It's that portion of it where you know, the necessity, you know, by the necessity is created, and then you step into that space, and there's no fear in that.
Right.
Within that space, within me learning how to sew, right? Within me learning how to cook, within me learning how to do my sister's hair, and then by virtue of that, my little cousins who are like sisters' hair. At no point in time did I ever believe I was replacing a woman, or I didn't need a woman.
And
in
no
that space.
men were calling you soft or this or that.
Yeah,
We have a false sense of manhood. We have boys projecting what they think a man is, and girls projecting what they think a woman is.
And girls projecting what they think
a man. Yeah, exactly. It's all projection. It's not grounded in anything.
Yeah.
A real man, shut up.
Right. And the crazy thing is, there was a certain point in time when my mom had finally got a better job than the nursing home, working for the state, home health care. So that means she had to drive around all the place. So she'd come home for lunch, watch Oprah.
Everybody watched Oprah.
She came home to watch Oprah. She'd take out some meat or whatever she wanted for dinner, leave me a note, and be like, this is what I want for dinner. And then she'd go back out. And then I come from school, and the shit is thawing in the sink, and I see her note. But before I hit the streets, the house was already clean. I made sure that shit was just constant. And then I made sure I made her a meal. Put it in the oven, covered it up on the stove or whatever, and I bounced, right? But I did that because it's my mom, man. She was working her ass off, and I ain't want her to come home, because I was there watching her, you know, working all them days at the goddamn nursing home, and she'd kick off her shoes, and I used to take that what do you call it, the polish. It wasn't polish, it was the
nail polish remover.
No, this for shoes.
Oh, shoes. The white shit. Yeah, the white
So
polish, because you had to, for the nursing.
White shoes.
Yeah.
So I used to do her shoes, you know, every couple of weeks.
Yeah, mother's boy shoes, nigga.
Yeah. You do that for my mom too.
Them thick ass mother's boy shoes with the plastic on the top.
Hey, real talk. So it was a certain point, and I was like, man, this is the least I could do.
Mm-hmm.
To just take that shit off her mind. She can come home, just eat. When I get home, I'll do whatever. She always used to clean up after herself. But
that leads us to a relationship sticking point. Because when you grow up like that, there's a care in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you fast forward and you're sitting across from a woman who's proud to not be able to cook anything. Not that we can't go buy some food, not that I can't cook, but you're making a declaration of what you're not gonna do. I don't care enough about you to make you a meal.
Wow.
And I refuse to learn because it's a badge of honor for me not to. So it's a badge of honor for you not to take care of me, but you want to be taken care of. You have to be what you expect. Plaids and stripes don't match. And I told you this last night we was doing this. I said, and I'm saying, and my focus is on guys, but this one is for the ladies. You are proud of your undergraduate degree from USC and your master's from UCLA, but you have your MRS degree from Compton College or DeVry.
And that's not besmirching Compton College.
They don't even say besmirch at Compton College. And that's the point right there. You're so proud of your accomplishment. Think about it this way. You have to have a field of study, right? So I'm going to be a nurse. First, you have to think of it. Then you have to apply yourself, go through the coursework, apply to nursing school, graduate, go through everything. So when it's all said and done, you 6 years, 8 years in, right? To become a nurse, right?
Emotional and physical investment.
Well, if I'm going to be a husband or a wife, that is technically, if it works out, a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of studying would you do for that?
Ooh. Ooh.
It sure as hell is not the I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna be nobody's slave. Wait a minute, hold up. You don't know shit about slavery. Okay, so stop using that whack ass example. Okay, I've never fed my family and thought of Kunta Kinte.
Chicken George.
You know, it's like it's a beautiful thing to serve the people you love.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. You want a man's attention? Make a meal and sit down with him. You got his ass for an hour or two. You could really get into him. You could hear some of these stories. You could really get to know him. But if all I am is a utility to you, then why would you care about my story? As long as I make good money and I could buy some shit and we're going to go on vacation, then why do you care about my relationship with my mother? Which ultimately will affect you if I haven't dealt with it. And you wonder why we arguing in the bed at night.
And to that study point, I just did this experiment this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And
Use deodorant?
No.
I'm going to try this right, God.
I use crystal, actually.
I'm saying.
To let you rub that lemon on that,
Okay, it smell like lemonade wood pussy.
But I asked my wife this morning. I said, so if I asked you, if I said to you, I'll give you a great life in exchange, we can do the trips, you can have a great life. In exchange, I'm asking for three things. I said, if I ask for respect, if I ask for you to be a woman in the streets and a freak in the sheets, and the third thing was, if I asked for yours to have my back, that's what it was, to have my back. What questions would you ask me? She said, what does respect look like? What does having your back look like? Perfect.
That was pretty good.
That was very good.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
like,
24 years right there, man.
I was like, whoa, okay.
That's 24 years.
Okay.
I thought you go to Coach Chappelle. Tough break, nigga. It's always FUBU.
Because better hook up with Wu-Tang Financial. but that's the thing, though, to your point of study. Like, if you know, we as men have to be in a position to know what we want to ask the question and say, hey, this is what I'm asking of you.
Yeah.
The second thing, which she did perfectly, was, what does that look like to you? Not what does that fucking look like to me? You know, because it's gonna be different, right? But what does that look like for you? And I was like, okay, we can hang in there for a couple more years.
Oh, that's how she got the extension?
Yeah, that's how she got the extension this morning.
Look, little
This
did we
morning.
know.
This morning. but that goes to your study part, that MRS.
I got to sign somebody first. Before
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, them 10-day contracts.
Hey man, I gotta get a prospect. You know?
Man.
Hey, there's one more thing I want to hit on before we break.
I just figured out what I wanted.
Hey, write it down.
Yeah, that's the start.
Yeah.
That's the start.
Write it down. Shit. One thing that it has always bugged me, and you brought it up today in your story. It's Pops was cheating, right? And that word always rubbed me wrong, right? To a certain extent, because things don't happen in a vacuum, and this is nothing about your mom. It's just in general. But when I hear women say, yo, that dude cheated on me, I always ask, what did you not do that he asked you for? Right? What happened What is he looking for outside of the relationship? That he probably asked your ass. No, say that shit.
No, keep
Say
going.
that shit.
No, keep going.
What came to mind? 'Cause I know how your mind works.
No, man. No, because I know it's not even. It's funny to me, but two things. They got divorced when I was 8 months old, so I don't know what the hell happened, right? And I didn't find all this stuff out, like I said, a lot of it until after my dad passed.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't from my mother saying it. So it's like, you say, I ain't saying it. You right. You ain't saying it. My mom don't even know, right?
Right.
And but what I was gonna say is, like, remember Bizarro,
Mm-hmm. Bizarro.
right? The opposite of Superman, had all the powers, but he was like,
But he
that's
was
like
a moron.
you're creating, like, yeah, he's a moron. Women will look at you like you're from Bizarro world for asking that question.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I mean, of course, there's people that just out there, doing whatever they do. But cheating is a manifestation of far many other things.
Absolutely.
And the interesting thing is there's all kinds of studies, and it ranges. But for everything I've researched, and you can go to stuff, marriage.com, you go infidelity rates, to Google it.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between the rates of cheating men and cheating women is anywhere from 1%. The biggest one I've seen was a 6% gap.
Yes.
So both are cheating. But
Narratives.
right, okay. That, like, Human Nature, Michael Jackson sung it.
Yeah.
SWV sung
love
it.
it.
A lot of people sung the song,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, that's how cheating is. A lot of people sing that damn song, right? But Michael got the most credit for it.
Yeah.
So me and Michael, we get the
King of
most.
pop.
We get the most.
Pop.
You cheat on a woman, she gonna be on CNN with the no nigga list. Like, don't Charlie. So
Right.
dudes, we don't do that. A lot of dudes hold that L. They
Yeah.
might tell their boy,
Yeah.
maybe tell mom,
Yeah.
but it doesn't get broadcast like
Yep.
that, right? And so it's a human condition.
Yeah.
And as women have grown in the workforce, have more opportunities, and you add the internet, okay, which Instagram is a whorehouse, right?
That's why I don't do it.
No, you know what I mean? Like, you go from, you grow up. I mean, LA's big, so it's always action. But you in some small town, all you had was the town.
Yeah.
Now you got everything at your fingertips. So
got-
dudes is gonna get at you.
Right.
So the access is all over the place, right? So I mean, it's like, dude, can we have that conversation on an even playing field and tell this story without heroes and victims?
Right.
Can we tell this story as humans, and then really analyze, like, damn, as a husband, did I not do this? As a wife, as a woman, all he wanted was my time. And I told him I was too busy. Well, all she wanted was this. And I said, no, I got something else to do.
Right.
So I set the stage,
Yeah.
but who can say that?
The only analysis is self-analysis. Right. And I'm glad you said that. You put a bow on that perfectly, because, our aim, 3 intentions for this show. 3 intentions. Well, besides us getting together and talking shit, is A, changing the narrative of Black men. Right. And we'll do that with not only data and stats, but also with perspectives and with genuine, honest, authentic conversation from Black men. So you don't have to hear it from none of your girls. You can just tune in to some Black men.
Yeah.
Second thing, how does that shifting that narrative change the relationships with Black men and women? Like, if we disrupt the prevailing narrative about Black men, then perhaps Black women see Black men in a different light, right? And then third, how does that shift in those relationships change our community? Strengthen, change, improve, evolve our community, right? So that's the intentions. And with that being said, I love it. We got a chance to get those origin stories in, so we could show and showcase what experiences in our lives that made us the men that we are today, whether it be our experiences with women and how that affected us and it impacted us, and our experiences with men in our lives and how that showed us the pathway and set the foundation for manhood for us. So with that being said, listen, this show works best when you comment. So if you hear something, put that shit in the comment. You know what I'm saying? Let's dialogue. If you have something around those three intentions that you want us to talk about, share, throw it at us. And that don't mean we're gonna do the shit, but you know, we might. Yeah. But we won't know unless you hit us up. So comment. If you got something to say about Brooklyn, you know, throw that in the comments. If you got something to say about the East Side,
share it with your friends
and South Crenshaw High.
Share it with your share it with your enemies too. Share it with your friends. Share it with that heifer you hate at the job.
Your frenemies.
You know,
Say something about the Democrats.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So comment, share, subscribe, and with that being said, I'd like to thank you guys, man. I appreciate you.
Should thank us. We were outstanding.
Yeah, you were.
Be on the lookout for Skinny Black's new cartoon series. It's called Medium Man. It's a dark-skinned superhero that wears little T-shirts.
Hey, starring a broke-ass Don Cheadle. Me.
Go Demos.
With that, we out.